Aaron Donald talking retirement again or not? Talking NFC West, the first wave of cuts, and appreciating Robert Quinn and the time he spent with the Rams. I'm Joe Terosian, and live from the Ram Cave, this is RamView, the May 18th, 2022 edition. And it is good to be here on a warming summer-like day here in Southern California. It's not exactly hot, but it feels like it's getting hot, and I'm miserable. Best time of year is the fall. Besides leaves falling, cool breeze, also really, truly, honestly, in the fall football season. But we'll muddle through. Rams had their first wave of cuts also this week. It's really interesting. You get signed as an undrafted free agent by the Rams. You get to call yourself a Ram for 12 days, and then they call and tell you, sorry, we're moving on. Really interesting stuff. We'll talk briefly about that. But I want to get into this in terms of Aaron Donald. I have a sip of coffee. I know that doesn't work for the podcast people, but you know what? I wanted to drink my coffee while it was still hot. Aaron Donald hasn't said anything, right? But there was that talk about he could retire, and I think people are bored right now, right? The cuts of some of these undrafted free agents wasn't enough, right? The struggling that's happening in the NFC West isn't enough, and so they needed something. So the discussion is because we haven't heard about Aaron Donald's restructure that all of a sudden he's going to retire. He could still retire. Of course he could still retire. That's not a story. Oliver Luck, Andrew Luck, not only let the Colts go through draft season the year he retired, go through draft season, go through the summer, go through all that period where they could have made some other moves, and then a month before the season began, decided to retire. A guy can retire any time he wants, and so that's no news. Here's what's news to me. Rams will likely get this all worked out. What's the worst scenario? Usually you think in Rams history before this ownership and this leadership is eventually Aaron Donald will probably end up going back to Pittsburgh, right? If after his big season in 1980, Vince Ferragamo could end up going to Montreal for the 1981 season, anything's possible. Players leave, right? Wendell Tyler gets traded. Eric Dickerson gets traded. Players move on. You get it. And I'm not saying anything negative towards Aaron Donald or anything like that, but it happens, right? That's the worst case scenario. The other thing is he retires. And I will say this, because whether you're working in sports where I say it with pride, but guys have worked as long as I have and done more, but I was adding up my columns. I used to write, I still do. I don't write it as often as I do RamView anymore for my website, a column called FanView. And when I went back and added up all my columns, I've written well over 1,000 of them. When I'm thinking of game stories, football stories, baseball stories, basketball stories, previews, weekly previews, top 10s, bios, or features, I'm into the multiple thousands and thousands and thousands. And people get burned out. You really do. When you start thinking that, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. And as a minister, it happens to people in ministry too, because it requires so much of you focus and mentally. And then I'm sure it's like this in other fields as well. But the second you start thinking about retirement, in my experience, you're retired or you're getting ready to close the door and go. And fortunately, the good news for Ram fans is, are we hearing directly from Aaron Donald on any of this retirement talk? If we are, let me know. But if he's not directly saying, hey, I get what I want or I retire, I really wouldn't worry about it. And then if any player or someone put it to me, give me what I want or I'm going to retire, I'm going to say retire, because you've already mentally checked out. No one throws that word around lightly. And so, but Aaron Donald's not saying that. What you do have is a lot of people looking for stuff to write about and talk about during this time of year. And again, folks, I think if you do your digging, there is stuff to talk about and stuff to get into. You could literally, for the next month, go through the Rams season week by week that's coming up and who they're playing and do a breakdown of their opponents, right? I mean, there's so much to do. And I really think what we're seeing in terms of Aaron Donald could still retire, it's gross. It's just negligent. It's lazy. And until you hear Aaron Donald saying he wants to retire, I really wouldn't sweat it. And even if he does, the story goes on, right? The powerful play goes on. He's contributed his verse, right? And he gets to move on. The only thing I will say is that, and I know this sounds like heresy, I don't want Aaron Donald to retire. I still think he's the best defensive player in football. But there were moments last year I saw him attempt to wrap somebody up that I had never seen before, and then I saw them break out of that wrap up on Aaron Donald. I thought there were a few moments last year where he didn't look necessarily like the Aaron Donald of previous seasons. I know that's heresy. I know that's like saying the Pope's a Presbyterian, but you know what? That's just what I saw. I still think he's better than anybody else, but we better get ready for it as Rams fans. You have seen the best of Aaron Donald. I think what you're going to see now is very, very good. But he is 30, just saying. Okay. And he doesn't take time off either, right? He's not like doing load management, although I think the Rams should do some snap management and give him some more rest. All the Rams should be having some snap management, but that's another story. Looking around the NFC West, other things that just keep buzzing, that just don't go away because people are looking for stuff to talk about. But there is some truth to it because we've heard this persistently, is Trey Lance isn't ready. And if Trey Lance isn't ready, great for the Rams, right? Great for the Rams. That means the 49ers have to keep Jimmy G, right? They have to keep Jimmy G. They keep themselves hamstrung with their salary cap, and they have to figure out what they're going to do because they spent a lot of capital to move up and grab Lance. And if he's not ready, then he's not ready. And maybe he'll be ready next year. I don't know. All I know is the 49ers Super Bowl window is closing, and it's closing much more rapidly than the Rams window is closing. And so this is all good news. I'm going to go on a limb here. 2 Ram victories this year over the 49ers. 2 Ram victories, okay? Regular season. I ain't counting playoffs. 2 regular season victories over the 49ers. There. I lock it up right there, okay? I was looking at the Cardinals. And, just looking at different things in the NFC West here because they're going to be playing the Rams. And we've talked about their offense and everything, but, they've got real issues up the gut defense, let alone at their corner spots. They got Marco Wilson at corner. They drafted him 137th overall last year. Byron Murphy Jr., they drafted him 33rd overall in 2019. And I'm not saying these guys are the worst DBs in history. I'm not saying I wouldn't take them over Troy Hill. But you know what? That's the best they have to go up against. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Deebo Samuel, IQ over there at Frisco too. That's a tough haul. And if you're going to be giving up as much as the Cardinals have been giving up defensively, and also they're in transition with their edge players, everything as well. I mean, do you really count on J.J. Watt? They're going to expect Kyler and the Miracles to be producing a whole lot of stuff. And that's it. They're just going to be depending on Kyler Murray. And can you depend on Kyler Murray? So chalk up 2 wins for the Rams, that they should get 2 wins against these teams. And then, of course, there's the Seahawks. And I talked yesterday about Drew Lock. Is Drew Lock really as bad as everybody says he is? Or did everyone take a narrative from a very popular sports talk show host and go with what his narrative was, that Drew Lock sucks? I don't know. I don't think we could close the door on Drew Lock. Is he as good as Russell Wilson or anything? No, but it'll be interesting to see, especially what's asked of him in Seattle. He's still got Tyler Lockett. He's still got DK Metcalf as of now. But what's interesting to me about the Seahawks is, do you know who's penciled in to be their starting center? Right now, penciled in to be the starting center for the Seattle Seahawks is Austin Blythe. Austin Blythe was the Rams center for a couple of years, did a nice job for the Rams. He was, I think, a top 12 center in the league his years with the Rams. Might have even been inside top 10. He did a really good job for the Rams. It wasn't great, but he did a good job. He was on the upper tier of centers. And, of course, the Rams were broke last year because they couldn't spend any money, but they did offer him a little bit more, and but he took less to go home to Kansas City. Went to Kansas City, but Kansas City, lo and behold, drafted Creed Humphrey, okay? Okay, game over, right? They drafted Creed Humphrey, and Austin Blythe barely sniffed the field last year, signed with the Seahawks this offseason. So they're penciling him in at starting center. And the left tackle is Charles Cross, who they drafted number 9 overall. The right tackle out of Washington State is Abraham Lucas, number 72. So they literally got a new center and 2 rookie guards slated in as starters for Seattle. And it's going to be interesting. I don't expect them to pass much. Even though they got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. but they got a nice running back room. Of course, Chris Carson can't stay healthy, right? But very good back, good back. Rashad Penny broke through, and I'm always in the Rashad Penny corner because I saw him play at Norwalk back in the day. Good all-around player, had his lumps in the NFL, but he broke out late last season. Good for him. And now they got Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. And so there's depth in that running back room, and we know what Pete Carroll likes to do. And now that Russell Wilson's not there, he doesn't have to accommodate. Not that he shouldn't have been accommodating. He should have been accommodating Russell Wilson more. But now he's back with an opportunity to play the football Pete Carroll wants to play. Now, does that still work? Is their defense good enough to limit teams to maybe 17 to 20 points? And is his offense going to be good enough to score 21 points? That's going to be tough. Maybe the 49ers, we don't know where they're going to be at quarterback. I'm not real big on Kyler Murray, and I think they'll definitely struggle against the Rams. But it'll be interesting to see. So they've really invested in their offensive line in Seattle, and they got a room full of running backs. And it is a world that is made by running back on committee. Okay, folks, I am Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView. And I have been a sports writer and pastor for a number of years, pastor for 30 years, sports writer for over 20 years, and wrote books. My book, Hands of Dreams, as I said, is having kind of a second life. And I appreciate you folks looking at it. And if you can keep on looking at it, I don't do a Patreon. I don't do it for fee, but I do write books to help offset my salary. And also, that was Tangent Dreams, my football book. This is my explicitly Christian novel, dystopian novel. Think Walking Dead meets Christianity. And this is Sin Virus, and it's received some nice reviews. And all my books are available on Amazon. I've written about 6 of them. And so I appreciate the support. You could also follow me at JoeT13B on Twitter and Instagram. My website is joetarosian.com. And also this RamView is also converted into a podcast, and it is posted at Spotify, available in all fine places. All right, so we got that out of the way. And also the Rams got their first round of cuts out of the way. And this one's a bummer because you're an undrafted free agent. And then the draft ends, and then you get a phone call. It says, hey, you know what? We like you. You want to come in and be a Ram? It's like, yeah, you tell me where to sign. And so the Rams signed 17 of these undrafted free agents. And the news broke late last night or early this morning that 5 of them have already been released. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if they just decided that these guys weren't going to fit in. Maybe these players wanted out and the team's accommodating them because there's no room for them. But they're gone. And a couple of the names are interesting because you heard buzz about them. And one of them is Roger Carter. And he was he was listed as a tight end, but people viewed him as a fullback, H-back kind of guy. Hey, Mike Gooman. And yet he was one of the guys cut. Defensive back TJ Carter was cut. Linebacker Hughes Murray was cut. I don't want to pronounce his first name. Andres Hughes Murray. Daniel Isom was a name that people kind of were talking a little bit about. And he's a DB. He got cut. And then the guy that was cut was Lance McCutcheon. And everyone's kind of excited about Lance McCutcheon. I don't know, was he Montana State, North Dakota State? What up there? He's up in the great wild west, wild Midwest up there. And, of course, his name's McCutcheon, right? And the book on him is he was undrafted. Great size. He goes up and gets the ball, but he's got bad hands. He's slow. He's all these things. And he was tall. He's in the 6'6" range or something like that. Well, the Rams already got one of those projects in-house, and his name's I think it's Warren Jackson. I didn't have him on my list here. The Rams got these guys. The Rams do like tall receivers. They like the big receivers. They're going for those receivers who can contest for the ball. And McCutcheon seemed like he fit that vein, but he was given his walking papers and good luck in the future. And maybe, again, I'm not sure what the whole detail is here, is that they got to look around. They got brought in, they got measured, they got spoken to, and then maybe the team just decided to go another direction, or maybe the players themselves said, hey, why don't you release me now, and I might have a shot to hook on someplace else. So it'll be interesting to see what comes about on this. On this short episode of RamView, we're also looking right now at this date in Ram history, and I really enjoy this part It gives us a chance to look back at some players or some coaches that maybe weren't appreciated, as we did with Tommy Prothro yesterday. Although I don't know if we ever appreciated Tommy Prothro. We always just wanted to kill Tommy Prothro. But on this date in 1990, Robert Quinn was born. And today, Robert Quinn turns 32. He was a 6'4", 245 edge guy that the Rams took 14th overall in 2011 out of North Carolina, which was really interesting. It was quite a gamble by Billy Devaney, the GM at the time, because Quinn never played his senior year. He was ruled ineligible along with a few other players at North Carolina for receiving compensation, which in my book, anytime the NCAA benches somebody for receiving compensation, if he had gone to Auburn or Ohio State, right, he wouldn't have been. They'd have done an investigation and completed it in 3 hours. And what's happening with the name, image licensing to the NCAA, I'm thrilled with. I don't know if an 18-year-old should have $30 million put in his pocket to go to a different university and turn all the smaller universities that aren't Ohio State and Michigan, but turn breeding campgrounds into Purdue and Illinois and Washington State, that a player goes there and plays for a couple of years and then just gets cherry picked and it becomes like a developmental league for the big boys. But I'm happy to see the NCAA squirming and struggling because they do stuff like this. And Quinn was ruled eligible his senior year, and Ram GM Billy Devaney drafted him. Now you understand, Billy Devaney in 2011, man, he was only the Ram GM for 3 years, and during the years he was with the Rams went 10-38. Okay, yeah, he stunk on ice. And Bill Devaney's picks were Jason Smith, Sam Bradford, 2009, 2010. Okay, swing and a miss. And Robert Quinn in 2011. And he hit on Robert Quinn, but it wasn't enough to save his job as Les Snead took over in 2012. Quinn was with the Rams for 7 seasons. He was part of the team for 2 years after the move from St. Louis. Recorded 62.5 sacks. Was double digits in sacks 3 times, including 19 in 2013. That was a stretch there from 2014, 2015, 13 to those Jeff Fisher teams. Okay, he got us out of the 2-14 mode. Got us completely into 7-9, 6-10. And that defense, you had Chris Long, Aaron Donald on the same line. You had Laurinaitis, who was a solid middle linebacker. You had Janoris Jenkins and Tremaine Johnson at corner, TJ McDonald at center, and you had Robert Quinn, Alec Ogletree. You had some talented guys in that group, and the Rams never did put it together. And until much later, and after a Quinn had left, after a Chris Long had left, Laurinaitis had left, and they really missed some golden opportunities because they couldn't get the offense right. Of course, it was Jeff Fisher, right? You say, oh, we need a new OC. Okay, let's take our assistant tight ends coach and make him the OC. But I digress. So Quinn made the move. He had a couple of rough seasons in 2015 and 2016 where he had some injuries. Came back, had 8 sacks in 2017, but he wasn't a good fit for Wade Phillips' system. Wade Phillips had the Rams in that 3-4, and following the 2017 season, he was traded to the Dolphins for a 4th-round pick, who became Brian Allen, right? Brian Allen's now the Rams starting center, and in the top 10 of centers. And so interesting, right? Robert Quinn is parlayed into Brian Allen. And in that same trade with the Dolphins gave the Rams their 6th-round pick, and the Rams gave the Dolphins their 6th-round pick. The Rams used that 6th-rounder from the Dolphins as part of the package in 2018 to draft Ogwo Okoronkwo. They traded 2 draft picks, 2 6th-round picks for a 5th overall, and they drafted Ogwo Okoronkwo, who was with the Rams up and through this last season, got a ring. Now he's signed with Houston, and Ogwo Okoronkwo will get the Rams another compensation pick next year because he signed with Houston, and it might even, if he excels or gets on the field enough, be a 5th-round compensatory pick. So the gift keeps on giving because of Robert Quinn, an excellent draft pick by Billy Devaney, and I just thought it was pretty cool because also the good news here is Robert Quinn's still playing. After being traded to Miami, he bounced to Dallas, went to Chicago, and last year he recorded 18.5 sacks for the Bears, right? Good for him, still producing, and he is signed with the Bears because people were talking about a Robert Quinn reunion with the Rams, but he is signed with the Bears through the 2024 season at an average of 13 rocks per year. So he's going to finish his career in Chicago and really finish it with a really nice run. So good for Robert Quinn, and happy to see that work out. And it was a draft pick that maybe the Rams got some mileage out of. They got some mileage out of the deal, and Billy Devaney did a good job there after Jason Smith and Sam Bradford. So thought that was interesting stuff. It is the 20-minute mark, and this is where we want to be in RamView. I'm going to be talking more Ram football tomorrow and Friday. Got some big remembering days coming up. Guys like Colin Bryant, Wendell Tyler, Terry Nelson. We're going to be talking about them in the days to come. And we're just going to keep talking Ram football. Thank you for your likes, for your supports, for your subscribes. Please do all that because it really helps. It encourages and just helps us build this imprint. Please check us out on Spotify. All right, guys, I'm Joe Terozzi, and thank you so much. And take care. We'll see you tomorrow.